ever get that feeling. Like, we throw around words like religion all the time, but do we actually know what we're talking about?
Oh, totally. You think you've got a handle on it, then you try to explain it, and suddenly, well, it's like Paul Griffith said, it's a total Tower of Babel situation.
Yeah. Everyone's got their own idea of what it means. So today we're doing a deep dive. We're going deep on religion.
Deep.
We spent some serious time with the Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy entry on the concept of religion. Heavy stuff, but super fascinating.
It really is.
We're going to try to break down the most important and honestly the most surprising things we found.
Surprising is right.
By the end of this, you'll have a much clearer and maybe even a little controversial view of this whole idea of a religion.
Definitely beyond the surface level.
Way beyond. First thing that struck me, the word religion, it hasn't always meant what we think it means today. It's changed so much over time.
It has. You go back to the Latin root, religio, and it's more about, like, scrupulousness, being really careful and conscientious, or just a strong sense of obligation duty, not even necessarily about gods. Right.
So not like a specific set of beliefs, more of a feeling, like an internal thing.
More like that, yeah.
Yeah.
And actually, Augustine, the theologian, he even considered using religio to describe worship of God.
Really?
But ultimately decided against it. The meaning was just way too broad back then.
Interesting. So then fast forward to the Middle Ages, what happens to religion then?
Well, then it takes on a different flavor. It starts getting used for monastic orders, specifically, like within Christianity, with their rules and vows, a very defined way of life.
Yeah.
So it's narrowing a bit, becoming more structured, but still very much a Christian thing.
Right, still within that Christian bubble. So when does it break out? When does it start including all these other belief systems from around the world?
That's a big turning point. And it really picks up steam in the 17th century.
Okay.
A guy named Edward Herbert, he's trying to make sense of religion in a Europe that's, still recovering from those huge religious wars.
Reformation and all that.
Yeah, exactly. Lots of conflict. So Herbert's big idea was that all religions actually share 5 core common notions. These are like the essential ingredients. Number 1, there's a supreme deity. 2, you got to worship that deity. 3, you got to live a virtuous life. 4, repentance for when you mess up. And 5, rewards and punishments in the afterlife.
So he's laying out a universal definition of religion, but it sounds pretty Christian, even Protestant.
Yeah, to make his system work, and it's a very monotheistic system, one God, right?
Right.
He had to kind of shoehorn other traditions in.
How do you do that?
Well, for the ancient Egyptians with their many gods, he said those were just like servants or aspects of the one true God.
Interesting.
And people who worship nature. He claimed they were actually worshiping the supreme beings through nature. It was an attempt at universality, but seen through a very particular lens,
Yeah, trying to fit a square peg in a round hole.
Kind of, yeah.
So then anthropology comes along. How did that change things?
Oh, anthropology really blew things wide open.
Yeah.
Especially with a guy named Edward Burnett Tyler in the 19th century.
Okay.
He was fascinated by cultures all over the world, not just Europe. And he proposed a much simpler definition of religion. Just belief in spiritual beings. That's it.
So much broader now. No more one God requirement.
Exactly. Tyler's definition could include the Hindus with all their gods, ancient Greeks, even Buddhist ideas about bodhisattvas, and ancestor veneration in places like Madagascar.
Wow.
And this wasn't just about expanding the category. Tyler was really pushing back against the idea that European Christianity was somehow the most advanced form of religion.
Okay.
He argued that all these other cultures, even the ones considered primitive by some, they were grappling with the same fundamental questions about life and existence,
Right.
just doing it different ways. These were thinking men, he said, philosophers,
Yeah.
in their own right.
Yeah. So instead of seeing them as totally different, he's emphasizing that shared human intellect. That's a big shift.
Huge shift. And then the 20th century rolls around, and things get even broader. It goes beyond just spirits or deities.
Okay, what happens next?
Well, now we start seeing the inclusion of belief in non-personal powers or forces, Like you have William James talking about an unseen order we need to align with, or Clifford Geertz. He talks about a culture's understanding of the general order of existence and their overall shape of reality. It's not about God specifically anymore. It's about the bigger picture.
I see. So this would include things like karma in some Eastern traditions, the Tao in Taoism, even the idea of Buddha nature being everywhere.
Right. This is what some call the cosmic turn in the understanding of religion. It allowed for non-theistic traditions, like certain types of Buddhism, to fit comfortably under the umbrella of religion.
So we've gone from a specific sense of personal obligation to this vast concept of belief in some kind of non-empirical reality.
Yeah, it's been quite a journey.
And somewhere in all this, the source mentions substantive and functional definitions of religion. What's the difference?
Right. So substantive definitions, like the ones we've been talking about, they define religion by what it is, usually a belief in a specific type of reality,
Okay.
whether it's spirits, gods, a cosmic order, you name it. Functional definitions, on the other hand, define religion by what it does.
I see. So not what you believe, but the effect that belief has.
Exactly. It's about the role religion plays in a person's life or in society.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, Emil Durkheim, he defined religion by its ability to create social solidarity, to bring people together into a moral community.
Okay.
It didn't matter to him what they specifically believed, whether it was in gods or spirits.
Yeah.
For him, it was the social function that mattered.
Interesting. So, like, your group could even be atheist as long as you had that shared purpose and identity.
Right. And then there's Paul Tillich. He said religion is whatever is a person's ultimate concern, the thing that really shapes their values, gives their life meaning.
That's a pretty broad definition. Could get kind of messy, no?
Oh, yeah. Functional definitions can lead to some pretty unexpected things being labeled as religion.
Like what? Give me an example.
Well, some scholars argue that even atheistic ideologies, like capitalism, nationalism, even Marxism, can function as religions.
Really?
Think about it. They provide a shared set of beliefs and values, create social structures, and give people a sense of meaning and purpose, just like traditional religions.
Wow. So if I'm really, really into my favorite sports team, that could be a religion.
It could, yeah. If it gives you that sense of ultimate concern, belonging, shared rituals, the whole 9 yards.
That is wild. But on the flip side, if you look at it from a substantive perspective, like if someone's interacting with spirits, that might be considered magic, not religion.
Right, if it doesn't fit into a larger system of belief or address those ultimate concerns.
This just shows you how different these approaches can be. Now, the source also mentions this assumption that religion, whatever it is, exists in every human culture.
Right, the idea of universality.
Hmm.
Now, some functional definitions, since they focus on the role religion plays, might automatically suggest that it's universal. Like, if religion is whatever creates social cohesion, then every society must have something that does that.
Right.
But it's important to remember, a category doesn't have to be universal just because we have a word for it.
Good point.
You look at beliefs in an afterlife or supernatural beings or specific metaphysical systems, those aren't universal across all human societies. So just because we have this category of religion doesn't mean it neatly applies everywhere.
Okay. So we've seen how the definition of religion has gotten broader, more diverse. Now let's get into the really heady stuff.
Let's do it.
The philosophical side of things. The source talks about monothetic versus polythetic approaches.
Yeah.
What are those all about?
So this is where philosophers get into the nitty-gritty of how we understand the concept of religion, its structure. Monothetic approaches are about finding that one defining feature,
Okay.
the essential ingredient that makes something a religion, like a checklist. If it has this, it's in. If it doesn't, it's out.
Right. So like Tyler's belief in spiritual beings. That would be a monothetic definition. If you believe in spirits, you're religious.
Exactly. Or Tillich's ultimate concern. That's another single criterion example.
Mm.
But monothetic definitions can also involve a set of criteria. You have to meet all of them to qualify.
Oh, okay.
Like Clifford Geertz, he had 5 elements: symbols, beliefs about the nature of things, practices that shape your dispositions, rituals, and the idea that these beliefs are taken as real. All 5 got to be there.
So it's like a more complex checklist.
Right. And Bruce Lincoln, he had 4: transcendent discourse, practices, community, and institutions. All have to be present for something to be a religion, according to his definition.
Interesting. So this way of thinking, is it a new thing?
Not at all. Theologians have been doing this for centuries, like analyzing Christianity using fides, fiducia, and fidelitas: faith, trust, and loyalty.
Okay.
Later, they became known as the 3 C's of creed, cult, and code. And some scholars even add a 4th C for community.
So they're acknowledging that religion is about more than just believing stuff. It's about practice and belonging.
Exactly. And Ninian Smart, he has a whole system of 7 dimensions of religion. So there's a definite recognition that religion is complex. It's multifaceted.
Now, the source also mentions that how we define religion can reflect deeper philosophical ideas about human nature itself. Can you expand on that a little?
Oh, absolutely. This is where it gets really interesting. You see, even within these monothetic frameworks, scholars often prioritize different aspects of the human experience.
How so?
Well, the source calls them the Cartesian cohort. They focus on cognition,
Yeah.
the thinking part, beliefs, understanding.
Okay.
They see that as the root of religious life, like Tyler or the folks working in the cognitive science of religion.
Mm-hmm.
Then you have the Humene cohort. They're all about affecting emotions, feelings, experiences.
So they see religion as more about the heart than the head.
Yeah, more about feeling than thinking. Schleiermacher is a good example, or people studying the phenomenology of religion.
Yeah.
And finally, the Kantian cohort, they emphasize the will, the action part, practice, commitment.
So for them, religion is about what you do.
Precisely. They are the ones looking at ritual, embodied practice, that sort of thing.
Okay. So your definition of religion is going to be influenced by whether you think humans are primarily driven by their thoughts, feelings, or actions.
Exactly. Like William James, with his emphasis on personal religious experience, he leans towards the feeling side.
Mm-hmm.
But his buddy, Alfred North Whitehead, he famously said religion is what a person does with their solitariness,
Interesting.
highlighting the action part.
Uh-huh.
So even though they're both looking at religion, they're emphasizing different aspects of human nature.
Okay. That makes sense. Now, what about polythetic approaches? How are they different?
Polythetic approaches, they come from Ludwig Wittgenstein, the philosopher,
Okay.
and they throw the whole one defining feature idea out the window. They say you don't need necessary and sufficient criteria.
Hmm.
Instead, they use this idea of family resemblance. Like, think about members of a family. They share some traits,
Mm-hmm.
but there's no single trait everyone has.
Right.
Polythetic approaches say it's the same with religion. Things can be considered religion even if they don't all share one common essence.
I see. It's more like a Venn diagram with overlapping traits than a checklist.
Exactly. One type of polythetic approach is called bounded. This one says, okay, there are certain characteristics that are typical of religion.
Oh.
Maybe belief in the supernatural, ethical norms, rituals, a sense of benefit for the participants, community, things like that.
Okay.
But you don't need all of them to be a religion. You just need a certain number.
I see.
So you end up with a kind of spectrum. Some things are more prototypical religions. They have lots of the traits. Others are clear examples with a few less. And then you have borderline cases, just barely making the cut.
So something could be a religion even without belief in gods, as long as it has enough of those other family traits?
Exactly. And this approach, as Vincent Sandler points out, can be applied to elements within a religion too, or even to individual religions themselves.
Mm-hmm. Now, some people would say this whole approach is way too vague. Like, if there's no clear line, how do you even know what you're talking about?
Yeah, that's a valid criticism.
Yeah.
But people who like this approach point out that it's used in other fields, like biology.
Hmm.
Categories in nature often have fuzzy boundaries,
True.
and you can have a lot of characteristics to work with, which makes it more nuanced.
Okay.
And then there's the open polythetic approach. This one goes even further.
Oh, so.
It says that the set of characteristics that define religion can actually change over time.
Wow.
Like, as we encounter new things that we think should be considered religions, the definition itself evolves.
So it's a constantly moving target.
In a way, yeah. It's like saying our understanding of religion can grow and adapt.
It makes you wonder if finding one perfect definition of religion is even possible.
Yeah, a lot of scholars have come to that conclusion. The source talks about different kinds of definitions. Lexical, like you'd find in a dictionary, real definitions based on some essential nature, and then stipulative definitions where we just assign a meaning.
Mm-hmm.
Stipulative definitions can't really be wrong, but they can be judged by whether they're useful or not. Even a stipulative definition can be criticized if it strays too far from how people normally use the word.
Okay, now for the really mind-bending part. The source gets into this whole idea of reflexivity and skepticism about religion itself.
Yeah, this is where it gets meta.
Like questioning whether religion as a category even makes sense.
Right. The reflexive turn in religious studies means scholars are looking inward, examining their own assumptions.
Okay.
Like Jonathan Z. Smith, in his book Imagine and Religion, he argued that there is no data for religion.
What does that even mean?
He's saying that religion isn't this thing that exists out there in the world objectively.
So it's not like a rock or a tree.
Right. It's a concept that scholars created to make sense of the world.
I see. So people are having spiritual experiences, doing rituals, all that stuff, but the label religion is our own invention.
Exactly. He was very insistent that anytime you compare and categorize things, you're making choices, you're interpreting, and that's shaped by your own background and biases.
Right, that makes sense.
He had this sort of line, map is not territory,
I like that.
meaning our concepts are maps. They're not the same as the real world, the territory. Now, it's important to note that Smith wasn't saying that nothing is real.
Okay.
He believed these concepts we invent can still be useful for understanding real things, even in cultures that didn't have a concept of religion.
Okay, so he's critical of how we use the category, but not necessarily denying that there's something real there. What about Talal Assad? What's his take?
Assad, he's coming from a more historical and power-conscious perspective. He's asking, how did we get this concept of religion that we have today? And he argues that it's been shaped by a lot of Christian assumptions, like the focus on belief as an internal state, and modern Western ideas about separating religion from politics. He says that how we understand religion today is influenced by power dynamics and colonialism.
I see.
But, like Smith, he doesn't necessarily deny that religion is a real thing. He just thinks our modern understanding can make it hard to see things clearly, especially when we're looking at different historical periods and cultures.
It sounds like both Smith and Assad are pushing us to be more aware of the baggage that comes with this term.
Exactly. And then you have even more radical views.
How radical are we talking?
The ones that say there's no such thing as religion at all.
Ooh.
Some say dump the substantive definitions, stick with functional ones. Others say we need to think of religions plural, always.
Okay.
And then there are the hardcore non-realists. They see the whole concept as an illusion, something made up by language and power structures.
So, like the idea of witches in the past, a social construct used to control people.
That's a good analogy.
Ah.
A guy named Wilfred Cantwell Smith, he argued that pre-modern cultures didn't even have a concept of religion.
Wow.
He said the noun religion makes something abstract seem like a concrete thing. But the adjective religious, to describe people, that he thought was useful.
Interesting.
And then there's a whole group who draw on post-structuralist thought. They see religion as this tool of colonial power, a way to categorize and control people. They say we should stop using the category altogether and just study how the concept itself functions.
That's a big ask.
It is?
And then there are historians who say that religion didn't even exist in pre-modern societies, even in Europe.
Right. They say the way we understand religion today as this separate sphere from politics, economics, everyday life,
Yeah.
that didn't exist back then.
Okay.
Their point is that, sure, people believed in gods, they did rituals, but they didn't have this separate category of religion.
It was just all woven together.
Exactly. Of course, there are people who disagree.
Oh,
The realists. They say social structures, like religious commitments, can be real even if people don't have a word for them.
okay, that's fair.
They also point out that the need for a term like religion probably arose in different places as cities and empires grew, creating more diverse societies where people had to compare different belief systems.
So it's like once you have all these different groups interacting, you need a word to talk about what makes them similar and different.
Exactly. And there's some evidence for this in ancient Jewish and early Christian writings, and in medieval China and the Islamic world.
So maybe religion as a concept isn't just a modern European invention.
Right. Maybe it has a longer history than we thought, but that's a whole other debate.
A debate for philosophers. Because it all comes down to how we think about categories, right? Whether they're timeless and universal or inventions or something in between.
That's the crux of it, yeah. And it shows just how complex this whole idea of religion is, how challenging it is to define, and how important it is to think critically about the categories we use.
So for our listeners out there who've been with us on this deep dive, what are the key takeaways?
Well, first and foremost, religion is not some simple static thing.
Yeah.
Its meaning has evolved dramatically over time, and there's no one definition everyone agrees on.
Okay.
We've seen the difference between substantive definitions, focused on belief, and functional definitions, focused on the role religion plays. And we've explored the debate between essentialist approaches, looking for a single defining characteristic, and anti-essentialist approaches, which emphasize family resemblance and shared traits.
Right, right.
And of course, we've seen how some scholars question the entire category of religion, pointing out its potential biases and its connection to colonialism.
So when we talk about religion, we need to be really careful about what we mean.
Exactly.
And I think the big takeaway here is that by understanding the history and philosophy behind this concept, we can have much more nuanced conversations.
Totally.
It helps us move beyond those simplistic labels and appreciate the incredible diversity of human beliefs and practices.
And to think more critically, more philosophically about the categories we use.
Okay, so here's a final thought for everyone listening, a real brain teaser. Given all this complexity, all this debate, does using this one-word religion actually help us understand the world? Or does it get in the way? Is it a useful category or a misleading one? Especially considering it might be a relatively modern invention, not this timeless universal thing. It really makes you think about the power of language and how the categories we use can shape our entire understanding of reality.
It does, doesn't it?
So go out there and be philosophers, everyone. Question your assumptions. Dig deeper. Keep learning.
Couldn't have said it better myself.